couple of years back, I got a group of people, about 100 people, that I trained for a whole week with all my passion, with all my energy, with all my enthusiasm, with all my spirit, and I poured myself into them. And these were people that were going to be used by the organization. These were people that were going to contribute to the organization to enable our client to turn a tide that had just engulfed them big time. And there's something that I told this group of people, even as I closed that training. I said that I have done all that there is for me to do in this training today. And now matters are no longer in my hands. They are now in your hands. All I can do is to sit back and wait and trust that you guys are going to prove me right, and you guys are going to elevate yourselves, and in the process elevate us as an organization and help our client to shine. I'm talking in these episodes, I am talking about reentry, how you can be able to manage reentry. And let me explain what reentry is shortly. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
The idea of re-entry, I got it from this NASA, this spacecraft where people go out into space and they come back. When they're coming back, they've been experiencing a high, there's no gravity and so on. But now they have to come back to reality, and reality is represented in our lives by gravity. They have to face the gravity, the force of gravity, as they're coming back into the atmosphere of the earth. That's why they call it atmospheric re-entry. And it's not a funny thing. That's the same thing with success and our pursuits of productivity. Every time we hit a high, there's going to be that moment where we're coming back to reality. Because for the most part, when you're hitting a high, your adrenaline is up there, you are focused, you are sharp, you are heightened, your body is heightened, your spirit is heightened, your mind is heightened. It's like you are walking on the edge until you hit that goal and you maintain that goal and you achieve that goal and you raise your hand, like an athlete crossing the finishing line. And this athlete has been practicing for 4 years and now they have won an Olympics marathon. They will come back to reality after the congratulations, the national anthems have been played and they are given the rewards and so on, and they're given the prizes and so on and so forth. They're looking at the record they're broken. That atmosphere and that height, that environment that they're operating on at that moment is not going to last forever. Reminds me of the ancient Roman wars, when this conquering captain will be coming back into the arena and the king is just about to give him this conquering captain a prize. There will be someone whispering at the back of his ear, the glory is fading, the glory is fading, the glory is, all along for a long distance, glory is fading, to tell this man that the winning, the victory is good, the triumph is awesome. You can celebrate. I mean, you are the Diane right now of the whole arena. People are jubilating. You're the toast of everyone. But that's not going to be the case tomorrow or the day after or the week after. The glory will fade. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, that's the way success and pursuits of productivity has been structured, where we hit a high and then the glory fades. We come back to reality. We are facing the reality of life. We are facing the normalcy. We're no longer operating in that heightened atmosphere where our adrenaline is charging and we are feeling, so up there and so enthusiastic and so triumphant, so victorious. The glory always does fade. The question will be, how do we handle those moments where we hit a low? And not because we failed. We are hitting a low because we hit a high. We're hitting a low because we expended ourselves, we exerted ourselves, we went out, we garnered something, we achieved something. And now we are back to reality. Probably we are back to starting creating something new. For example, a guy who has created this company and sold it for $1 million. What do? Look at the guy, and I really pity this guy, and he passed away. Look at the guy who came back from the moon. I mean, what else can you want to do? You have gone all the way, and I mean, this is the very first man to set foot on the moon since Adam. What else is there to conquer? There is a serious dose of reentry, friends. What did he do? I will actually learn to study what Neil Armstrong did after he had conquered the moon, after he had put the American flag on the moon, or so we are told. What did he do? That's what we face on a daily basis, or probably on a weekly basis, or on a monthly basis, or maybe on a yearly basis, or on an occasional basis. When we achieve a high, the feeling of the high doesn't last. It comes back to the atmospheric re-entry analogy. It comes back to when we are facing reality. What do we do when we are facing reality? And we've been discussing this starting yesterday. We say that it is important for you to take a break. Important for you to take a vacation, not just wait for the 21 days annual leave. That's when you go away and so on and so forth. But every time you achieve a high, it is important for you to calm down and realize that the glory has faded. You are no longer operating on the high, and it is okay. Neither are you necessarily operating on the low. You're actually operating on the normal. You haven't gone back. You've just returned back to normal. You've not regressed. You're back to normal. So what do? Take some time and go away on a vacation. Get your mind out of these things, and that's what I'm going to discuss today. A very powerful point. But the point that we discussed yesterday is that you need to take a vacation. You need to take a break out of this so that you can retool yourself, recharge yourself, resource yourself, refresh yourself, and start building momentum slowly. You cannot always be operating at 100 miles per hour from Monday to Friday, Monday to Monday. There's got to be some time that you stop all the traffic and take a deep breath. Breathe out. Review how it's been, how a mighty ride, a roller coaster it's been. But recognize the fact that you need to rebuild once again. You need to give it another push, another try, another go once again. And then you start building the momentum. But that can only happen after you've taken a legitimate break. And you don't need to wait until the year is ending so that you can take the break. Anytime you achieve a high, achieve some kind of vacation. And I know someone would be saying, but Lawrence, that is counterintuitive, because when you've achieved the high, that's the moment you need to hit some kind of momentum and go and so on. I know how momentum is critical in life. I know how critical it is. But you see, you cannot go for momentum at the expense of a burnout. You cannot go for momentum at the expense of a total body shut down, total mind shut down, total spirit shut down, total creativity shut down. That's why you've got to be refreshed, and you've got to retool yourself, recuperate and recharge yourself before you can go for it once again. Today, we're going to talk about another aspect that is going to help you to deal with your re-entry. And this is simply this: detachment. What is detachment? It is simply detachment. But I'm going to explain detachment so that you can be able to understand it properly. Coming from the angle of passion, every time we are passionate about something, guess what? We are attached to it. And there is a reason and there is a cause for that attachment. We need to be attached to things. But our attachment to things normally makes us to suffer when it comes to re-entry. You've expended your energy, you expended your effort onto a project so much that you've put your heart, your spirit, your body, your soul, your mind, every single detail onto it. And the danger becomes that you want to control even the things that are not within your control. Things that you are not there. You see, anyone who is a micromanager is someone who has not learned the beautiful tool of detachment. See, you detach yourself from micromanaging because you've tooled some people to be able to be autonomous, to be able to be decentralized, and to operate with the same authority that you would operate with. See, that is the greatest thing that the Creator did. I mean, and it even can feel as if God is abdicating. Right now I'm speaking and the coronavirus is raging mad. Every country, nearly every country is affected. I mean, for the very first time since I was born, there is an epidemic that is affecting nearly every country. I mean, every continent is affected. And people are saying, God, why isn't God helping us? There is this thing called detachment. I mean, it's such a powerful force that God himself applied detachment to his own creation. He's not meddling and he's not micromanaging because he wants this creation to be successful. The same thing with you. The same thing I did with these guys, these 100 guys that are trained. I could not be in all the places that they were, but I had told these people, I had resourced them, I had equipped them, I had given them authority, I had given them my name, my permission, my brand, so that they can go and they can do the things that I asked them to do, and we're going to compensate one another. The only thing that I could do is to detach myself from it. See, the more you keep attaching yourself onto something, the more you are stretching yourself too much into it, and the more you are basically draining yourself out of it. Let us learn from God. Let us learn to detach ourselves. And I know it can be a controversial thing, but you see, detachment does not necessarily mean abdication. For example, you can have detachment in relationships. It doesn't mean that you hate the person. It doesn't mean that you are abdicating and you're walking away from it. No, detachment is a mental thing that you do to let go and let God, so to speak, to let things coast around on autopilot because you've done your part. And now it's basically the same thing that they normally call leaving the nest becoming empty. You've been raising your child all these years. They are now 20 years of age. They are leaving the nest. What are you going to do? I have seen women, mothers, so to speak, weeping whenever their daughter is getting married. and they feel like they want to meddle in their lives, they are not practicing detachment. You need to trust that you've done your part, and now let the rest, the environment, the universe, the other people that are actually in control, let them do their part. So in the sake of, let's say you've done a project, you've written a book, you've published a book, you've hit the send button, and Amazon is doing whatever it is that Amazon has done. You cannot eat yourself up every single minute to check, am I in the bestsellers list? Are people reading? Are people buying my book? The same with this podcast. Once I hit the send button, once I hit the publish button, I cannot every single minute following up how many countries are accessing this thing and so on. I can only detach myself, and by the way, detachment can even be for years. You do your part, you detach yourself. I saw a graphic on Facebook the other day that actually has kind of gone viral, so to speak. And in this graphic, there is this young boy who is playing a flute. And in his playing this flute, there is no audience apart from his dog, his favorite dog. It is the only audience. That dog is the only audience for this young man. And see, there was a caption there in that photo that said basically this: the size of your audience doesn't matter. Keep up the good work. That is a semblance of detachment. You keep working and let the work speak for itself instead of having this micromanaging thing. So once you've hit a high, release it. Release the work. Let it groom itself. Let it simmer itself. Let it ferment itself, for lack of a better word. Don't be so micromanaging out of it. See, yesterday I told you about Paul. Paul said, I forget those things that lie behind. You ought to get detached to your success. The success that you just had, get detached out of it. Learn to let it go. Detachment is a great technique that can be used in very many areas of life. When you get it detached, does not mean that you are now becoming indifferent, you're becoming uncaring. It just means that you're moving on. You are acknowledging the success, the victory, the triumph, but you're moving on. You're getting detached from it. They normally tell us that the enemy of success is past success. And I have this quote that is original with me, that the worst part of a heartbreak is not having the strength to move on. And actually, the same applies to a previous success. You need to have the strength to detach yourself from it so that you can experience your reentry well, you can manage your reentry well, and you can move on with your life. Tomorrow we're going to discuss something else that you can be able to use as a tool in order to manage your reentry. I hope this makes sense to you. For now, you've learned that you not only need to go for vacation, but you also need to detach. Until tomorrow, stay tuned and bye-bye. A special shout out to my mentor Jeffrey Howard of Visionary Business University, found at mastermindmentor.com, who has graciously provided me with the soundtrack and the introductory track to this podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.